Now, this is the Election Bureau. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. Welcome to the Voters Diary. Today, we're talking about security. Security is a big thing in every election across the world, whether it's the US, the UK, and here in Ghana. It will interest you to know that the Ghana Police Service today announced that it had identified over 6,000 flashpoints across the country and will be keeping an eye on those flashpoints as well as other places across the country. But how safe are you in going to cast your vote on the 7th of December? We'll look at this and many matters arising over certain flashpoints across the country in the Greater Accra region and the Ashanti region especially. We'll be right back. And you're welcome back to the Voters Diary. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. We want you to be part of this conversation. As always, send us a message via Facebook or Twitter. Remember to add the hashtag Voters Diary, or you can send us a message via WhatsApp on the numbers currently on your screen. Our big conversation today is around security, how safe it is for us to cast our votes in December. I'm going to be doing this discussion with two gentlemen. They have been studying the matter of security over the period, especially during election years. I have Anas Sheba Seidu. He is our security correspondent. He's been monitoring this, and today he was part of a number of journalists who met with the IGP over the latest on this matter. Anas, welcome.
Thank you, Vivian.
Okay. I also have with me our lawyer here, as well as our head of features and articles here at City FM and City TV. He's been with us on Voters Diary since day one. Salam Adonu, welcome.
Thank you, Vivian.
Right. So, gentlemen, you're welcome. Security is a big thing, you know, in every election. Before I'm going to start with your thoughts around all that, what we'll be doing today, the flashpoints, the announcements made by the IGP, I want to quickly go to a video from the IGP who addressed the press today, telling us how ready the police service are and some of the interventions they put in place to ensure that you and I can go and cast our ballots in peace.
62,794 security personnel from the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana Fire Service, the Ghana Prison Service, the Ghana Immigration Service, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, and the Ghana Armed Forces are being deployed for the elections. All the personnel that I've mentioned will be in their regular uniforms, with the exception of officers from the Criminal Investigation Department and of the Police Service and the Bureau of National Investigations, who will remain invisible, in quotes. We will adopt a 4-tier approach of starting duties of policing the ballot at all the 33,367 polling stations, revised to 40,000 recently, and 275 collation centers. Patrols, rapid response, and standby forces to provide swift action when the need arises.
So that's the IGP speaking there. So guys, security, big thing. Let me start with you, Anas. You are a security correspondent here, and you've been monitoring before the registration started, during the registration, after the registration, when campaign moved to the next level where it was intense and all that. In general, security-wise, I mean, over the period we've seen armed robbery cases, people have been killed. We've not seen closure to a number of, high-profile murder cases as well. Generally, what's security like in our country?
Thank you very much, Vivian. I will say over the past month, in 2020, crime has reduced. Many people within security circles will tell you they will attribute this to the COVID-19 or coronavirus. So between March and September, we had a drastic reduction in crime. in the country. In an election year, mostly you expect crime to be high because security officers always shift attention from such traditional crimes to political violence, political activities, political related violence. And on their blind side, you see these kind of cases like armed robbery, murder cases on the rise. But due to the virus, you had crime reducing. Getting to the latter part of the year, September, October, now we are in November, you realize that in the past 2-3 months, gun crime is at a particular level. And it came at a point politics or political activities got to a particular level. It tells you that now the intelligence gathering, the police operations, security operations are more geared towards political activities, getting intelligence.
But can they manage the two? Because because it's election period, our attention goes to election-related violence, knowing very well that the other side won't be asleep. They also wake up. Can't we manage the two? Or we don't have the personnel logistics to do that?
First of all, personnel. For instance, the Ghana Police Service has about 40,000 personnel. Out of that, I can tell you they have around 20-25 active service personnel, because they are, you say? 20-25,000 who are active now in the service, because we have some who are mothers, some are pregnant, some are on peacekeeping missions, others are on special duties. So those who are there to actually work on these things are around 20-25,000. You go to the other areas, they have a reduced number as far as operations are concerned. So in terms of numbers, we are constrained. Secondly, during the political season, there are a lot of things that are overlooked. For instance, if there's a minibus carrying, it's supposed to take 10 people, then it's taking 25 people with even some on top of it, and they're in political party colors, chances are that these people will be allowed to pass a checkpoint. Police, in a way, reduce the way they implement the laws. They allow these things to slip. And the criminals also monitor. They monitor, look out for these loopholes, and they take advantage of it. One other thing that also brings about the rising crime during these seasons is that the robbers or the criminals are also part of society. I know that if there is this MP or there's this politician visiting 10 communities, he will make donations, he will carry huge sums of money, he will give to people. So if I attack him and succeed, at least I'll walk away with 1 million cedis or more. So there's the cash flow, physical cash flowing in the system, people chasing for it. So the tendency of crime rising at this time is high. So the security can only but do little about it, because people who lived their life in Accra and had protection by the police, now they are moving into the villages, moving into places that police officers are not there to campaign. And it will be difficult for the police to be there to defend them.
So it wasn't out of place what we saw in Infanseman with moving from Accra in terms and then attacking and killing an MP on such a stretch.
Yeah, it's not. And if you remember the MCE who was supposed to donate or to disburse the donation from the vice president, he was nearly attacked. There was a roadblock, a robbery incident that happened ahead of him.
Yeah, and this is Savannah region.
Yeah, Savannah region.
Yeah, Savannah, that's right.
The
floods
West Mampusi district, the chief executive. He was nearly robbed. And he indicated to us that he had the cash in his car. He was going to distribute it. He was fortunate that they detected the roadblock 100 meters away, and he was able to escape. It means they are also studying the trends, and they are aware of what is in the system, and they go for it.
Okay, so let me bring you in. I mean, what he's saying is quite interesting, and especially during an election year, and the fact that we channel all our resources to political related violence and then take away, the other types or the traditional form of crime. But 2016, in terms of crime related to politics, did we even get it right from what you monitored during that time?
Well, safety or security is very important in everything we do. Indeed, when you look at even Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the second level of that after physiological needs is safety and a few other things. And personal security or general security is part of that. So anything that has to do with the security of the person, security of institutions, security of processes is key. And because you cannot always provide your own security, that is why the state is there to assist. The state has resources given to it by the people to be able to do that. Election-related violence is not something new. It's been with us since, even from in the days of Nkrumah, etc. These election-related violence has been the case. Fourth Republican era, we've seen election-related violence from 92, 96, 2000, even in between. We've seen every election has had its fair share of electoral violence. But is it a good thing? No, it's not. It is bad. That is why we have to always ensure we nip it in the bud. We have to put in place structures to ensure that, such violence does not occur. Violence as it is a threat to free and fair elections, and especially if we are dealing with new or emerging democracies like what we have in the sub-Saharan Africa, where the least thing can trigger, violence, and where very minor things which would be overlooked elsewhere become the real issues, triggering major incidents of violence. So we must do everything as we can to ensure that violence is brought under control. So I think it's also important to know that electoral violence or violence as a result of elections or campaigning or the electoral process occurs in various forms. We have violence perpetuated by people who just want to disrupt the electoral process or the elections or something. They don't have any stake per se in the election. They just disrupt it to make a case. You can have examples of terrorists trying to disrupt a certain process. We should not think that this is far away from us. We've just had incidents from Western Togoland. The Western Togolanders, or those people, so-called Western Togolanders, secessionists, could do something to disrupt the system, so that attention is put on them. When they do something to disrupt an election, they will have international attention of a kind, because once you are into an election, and Ghana especially, because we are the beacon of democracy in the sub-region, everybody looks up to us. People don't just talk about democracy for nothing. They don't compare our democracy to what is happening in Tanzania or even next door Cote d'Ivoire or even Nigeria, though Nigeria is doing better these days. They see our democracy as a real or the quintessential form of democracy. What happens in the US, what happens in the UK, and what happens in the advanced democracies. That's where they put our democracy. So anybody who tries to disrupt the election in order to bring attention to a cause the person is fighting would receive some international attention. And we must be careful that we do not leave any stone unturned in terms of putting in place structures to ensure that these maybe insurgents, I'll call them, do not rear their heads. Number two, which is more related to electoral violence as we know it, is violence triggered by the rivalry of candidates or between candidates and parties. That is what we have often happening here, and a number of things happen. So for example, rivalry causes, should I say, some enmity. People get angry with people. People think that you're my opponent. You're trying to take away from me what I have. You're trying to get me out of job. So people fight with their blood, because they know, especially in our part of the world where it's a winner-take-all thing, people's livelihood to be lost as a result of elections. People fight them. We have violence which occurs pre the election, during the election, and then post the election. Pre-election violence usually occurs during the registration process, and we've had our fair share of that this year when we did the registration. So we had the incident in Kaswa where a whole MP and a minister shot into the air. We don't know where that matter has been investigated at all. We also had instances in Damba where somebody was killed. We've had instances in other places. Maybe a lot of them didn't receive the national, did not get on the national platform for discussion. But these things happen. They may be minor, but they sow seeds of discord among the people. And these are things that, if we have serious security agencies and serious intelligence gathering organizations, they must be picking up, and it's important. We also have instances where these seeds of discord and disagreements, etc., are sowed during even the primaries of the political parties, even intra, elections. These things have a way they can degenerate, and it's important to note all of them. On the election day, violence can also occur. When violence occurs on election day, it's due to a number of reasons. Maybe somebody is coming to vote, has been denied the opportunity to vote. So, for example, we must guard against that this time. Where during the exhibition of the voters register, we saw a number of people, huge numbers, unprecedented number of people having their names missing from the register. We should guard against that. What happens if I appear in the transmission process, votes or the numbers are padded, etc.? So when all these happen, and the post-election violence thing doesn't occur just on the day of the declaration of results, it grows days, weeks, and even months after the election. So, people will be jubilating, people will be teasing people will be doing all sorts of things. Like in the US right now, I hear in Washington, for example, a lot of the streets have been deserted. That is the US, because people are afraid that situations could degenerate and there will be violence. That is even the US. So those things must be nipped in the bud. Okay. Let me quickly deal with what, in my view, may be triggers for some of these violence, election-related. One could be utterances of politicians. What we say is important. Politicians inciting their followers against the other side or against institutions or etc. That is a major recipe for disaster. That is not good, and so we must work on that. Number two, the conduct of the referee. The referee must be free and fair. In this case, our referee is the EC. So if a party to the election realizes or suspects or thinks, justifiably or not, that the referee is not free and fair, and so the referee has skewed or has tainted the processes leading to the election against them, they kind of put themselves in readiness to start something. Should at least or should there be a least trigger, and that we must ensure we don't condone. Okay. Also, the conduct of police and other institutions, the conduct of the security agencies, how do they behave? Are they free and fair? When a party does something, how does the police and other institutions deal with it? Do they discern and deal with the group like they would have dealt with anybody else, or they see who the members of the group are and where they belong before they act? Okay. If they don't act freely and fairly, people take note and they sow seeds of discord. We can also have lack of clarity in guidelines. So, for example, we saw in Ododo recently that one political group had its health work, the following another group was having its health work. What is the guideline? Do we say that when you reach this place, you don't do this or use this route, and so we will protect you or we will guide you, etc.? What are the guidelines? In 2016, we saw the incident in Nima where some people were having a health work also around Anado's house, and I hear people threw stones and so into the house and degenerated just by the Nima police station. What are the guidelines? Do you allow such works in areas like that? What are the guidelines? Clarity of guidelines are important. Okay. And until we sort out all these things, we'll be joking in deployment.